This episode of Start Somewhere is brought to you by our wellness app, Soll. A new evolution of alignment is available. When you download, use code Isabelle. Starting Somewhere With is a special segment of the podcast where I interview another thriving and insightful business owner to find out more about how they started. In this episode, I speak with Soll. He is a designer and also the founder of Mindspo and Mindspo Retreats. Chris and I share the most insightful conversation, speaking all things pivoting as a business owner, authentic marketing, so many golden nuggets and advice for business owners out there. We speak all about the power of abandoning hustle culture, how to create even more space in your life and business, resisting boredom, conscious awareness. Honestly, it goes on and on. I really hope you enjoy this episode just as much as I enjoyed hosting and sharing it with Chris. It's time to start somewhere. So how have you been? You're in Bali at the moment, aren't you? It looks beautiful behind you.
I'm good. I'm actually just in between places because Bali has gone absolutely crazy since it opened up. So it's very challenging to find a good place. And
Okay.
I found a really amazing apartment, which was just right. And then but then Rochelle and I noticed that we were kind of getting headaches on the first day. And then I realized that there was a huge power station like 3 meters outside of the apartment wall. So I short notice just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go find something else for a few days, and then we're just looking for something else. But just have to pay attention to those frequencies and those vibrations, because if it doesn't feel right, it's not just in your imagination. So yeah,
That's very good.
But yeah, Bali's amazing right now. It's it's.
I'm so jealous you're there. I'm in literally a turtleneck. It is freezing in Australia, so I'm very envious of you in Bali at the moment.
I'm sure you'll be here soon.
But I really hope so. But before we do get into the main content of the episode, a big part of the branding of Start Somewhere, my brand and everything else is all about coffee and coziness and just everything that makes us feel really good. So I do love to ask everyone on the show, what is your favorite beverage of choice? And what is that?
That is water.
Oh my God, I thought that was a glass of wine.
It is. I sometimes drink water out of extra glasses because why not, right? It's also when I go out, I often order cocktails without the alcohol. I'll just ask for a vodka lime soda, but hold the vodka because then you still fit in with everyone and no one's the wiser that you're the sharpest tool in the shed all night.
I love that. I was like, surely that's not a glass of wine. I feel like that definitely wouldn't be.
Oh, not at this time.
I love the transparency.
For sure.
Beautiful. So obviously, Chris is the co-owner of Mindspo. So I would love to chat all about Mindspo. But aside from that, who else is Chris? So what else do you do behind the scenes aside from Mindspo?
I do whatever is required, essentially. My background's actually graphic design. I studied it way back, and I did corporate design for a few years, but always felt deep down that it just wasn't for me. Like, in all honesty, probably every minute that I was employed for the 7 years or so that I jumped between different agencies and companies, I just always felt like I'm meant to be creating things. And whatever that might be, whether it's creating experiences or programs or products or art or whatever it might be. I'm a bit of a multifaceted behind the scenes and the front of the scenes. I essentially try to do whatever is required to run a business in 2022 using the internet, which is very multifaceted and it's always changing. I do my best to take care of the technical side of things so that Rochelle can be in her power doing more the presenting, the speaking.
So you touched on that. You're very multi-passionate, I want to say, which I really resonate with. And I really agree as well how you said it's so required to run a business in 2022, especially. So given your background in graphic design, being very creative, getting, all the cogs kind of moving in momentum, how then does that look for Mindspo? How do you really implement all of that to create Mindspo into such the success that it is today?
I mean, it's definitely a team effort. So we actually have a graphic designer slash video editor who
Okay.
works for us
Yep.
as well out of Portugal, which frees me a lot to
Mhm.
not just do kind of the creative grunt work, but instead be
Yeah.
more of a, I guess, creative director.
Uh-huh.
So,
Mhm.
I'll rather than spending hours editing a video, I will just watch the video for a few minutes and then I'll just like make a bunch of notes,
Yes.
record a loom and be able to just kind of get that feedback happening within
Yeah.
a few minutes. But it's I feel like the founder in startups, you have to be able to wear a lot of hats.
Mhm.
um, and so Mindspo really is, it's not a very traditional kind of setup in the sense like this is not like a corporate hierarchy or something. There's currently four of us that are managing everything together, and we're honestly going through some major transitions right now. Again, we go through many transitions. We've been changing our content formula. Uh, Rochelle is actually going to be starting the Mindspo podcast very soon
Oh,
because
beautiful.
because we realize that I feel like what works really well these days on social media especially is genuine moments,
Right.
which so much easier to get when you're having a long form conversation like we are right now.
Mm. Yeah.
Being able to take a small piece of that and
Yeah.
making it more creatively appealing through visuals. I feel like that's such a strong content strategy. And so we
Mm.
are, we're willing to change a large portion of the entire business activity setup just to be able to, stay on the forefront of that social strategy. So, yeah, we're really simplifying things right now. If I really think about
Okay.
it, it's
Mm.
we run our Mindspo retreat experiences, and we're only going to be doing a handful of those every year, which you're actually
Mm.
joining us on, right, in
Very, very, very
Cyprus.
excited. Cannot
Same
wait.
here, same here. And then we're focusing a lot on our new app that we've built, our manifestation
Yes.
app, Manifesti.
Yes.
So, and just trying to do less because
Okay. I
our
like that.
natural mode is to always do more. Rochelle and
Mm.
I both are coming up with 5,000 ideas every single
Yeah.
day, and it's always the shiny new object,
Right.
that you want to chase. But it's consistency, and persistence are keys. So you have to be able to put in that time
Mm.
to allow things to really like grow. If it doesn't work within 2 weeks, that doesn't mean it's not going to work. It just means you've only given it 2 weeks. Um, so yeah, I'm
Yeah.
talking a little bit all over the place, but
But
I
no,
hope you.
honestly, I feel like you gave so many like nuggets just there in terms of startups and starting a business. And, I think the one thing I really got is like it's really powerful to know when to pivot if how you just said like adapting to what's going on. I come from a marketing background, so and I totally agree with having this long form content and then, aesthetics and Instagram feeds and styles like that is evolving so much and people love authenticity and, getting snippets of this conversation and putting it up there for people to see and like just this conversation where people can really resonate and really get to know yourself and myself is powerful. And I think your story is something that nobody can replicate. So really run with
Yes,
that. And
absolutely.
yeah, I also loved how you shared to, at the beginning, we do have to wear all the hats, but how do you, like, when do you feel is the time, how you said you have somebody helping with your graphic design? When did you know was the right time to take off that hat, put it onto somebody else?
Mm. I mean, I think it's probably a feeling, It's
Hmm.
probably a feeling of noticing that you're just scattering your energy too much,
Right. Yeah.
and asking. I mean, I would say it's for me anyway. I'm not somebody who generally waits until I'm ready. I
Okay.
I I take the leap and I expect that things will fall into place as I do it. And to be honest, in the last 10 years of being an entrepreneur, it's always worked out like that. Like I didn't wait, and
Mhm.
like I said, I mean, this is just me. I'm a bit of a cowboy. I had no backup plan, and I quit my corporate job because I was just so over it. And luckily, one project after
Oh,
another came out of the woodwork and
okay.
and gave me, an income. But I definitely didn't wait until I had savings or a safe alternate income. It depends what your level of risk tolerance is.
Yeah.
I mean, we moved to Bali. We crowdfunded a gigantic mansion, renovated it in 1 month before people arrived on our doorstep for a retreat experience while we were
Mm,
completely sleep deprived and just way in over our heads. And
God.
looking back now on those 2 years, it was a wild adventure, and we learned so much, and we had incredible experiences along the way. We also
Mm,
definitely had a few screw ups, and that's just a
yeah.
part of it. You learn about people, you learn about yourself. But I don't know. I mean, I'm a good model for people to follow if you are like me, essentially. If you're someone who's like, hey, I want to have a crazy life and I just want to throw caution into the wind, then hey, then follow me, But if you're more risk adverse, if you want to play it more
Mm,
safe, hey, that is
mm,
also a very, very good way to go.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I just believe we only get to live once in this physical shell, and we're also lucky to be incarnated during this time right now.
Mm,
I personally believe we've all been alive many times before, and we'll probably be alive many more times after. But this one chapter that I'm Chris Soll and you're Isabelle is, we were born as the internet was created, as the
mm,
entire world was connected, and we have digital telepathy, and we have digital products that you can sell that are providing value all over the world while you are, sitting on a beach somewhere. That is incredible, and I want to just put my foot down and you know experience all the things while it's available. But I will also say at the same time, it's there's always a yin to the yang, and if there's it's probably some of the best advice that I could pass on for online business is to just abandon hustle culture,
mm,
because I fell into the hustle culture trap. I put working myself to the bone on a pedestal for a little while there. I'd be like uploading Instagram stories that it's sunrise and I've been working all night, and that I've done that a few times, the burnt out meditation teacher. And
wow.
and I've just realized kind of in the last year especially that, you know, if you create an imbalance, the universe will find a way to rebalance it. So if you put work on one side of the scale and you say work is now this important,
Mm,
and family and friends and hobbies and health and
yeah.
doing nothing is all down here,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
only maintain that for a little while before the universe goes, all right, well, I guess I'm going to have to make you sick now. I'm going to have to, make your girlfriend break up with you. I'm going to have to do something in order to bring it back to an equilibrium. And the thing that I've realized in slowing down is that it's actually allowing me to speed up in certain ways. It's allowing me to speed up in productivity and working on the most high value things with a fresh, energetic perspective, because I was just playing tennis with a friend, or I went for an hour long walk in the morning, and I really allowed myself 30 minutes to meditate without
Mm,
feeling like I'm in a rush. So that has just been probably the most valuable thing in the last year, taking work down in terms of the pedestal and putting value, putting balance kind of on a pedestal, but not even on a pedestal, because just creating balance as much as possible, in whatever way, like it's the importance of hobbies, remembering that life isn't just about work. um, it's the number one regret that people have when they die. They
mm,
look back on their life and they go, God, I wish I'd taken more time to just be with family and friends and enjoy myself and not just be caught up in the rat race. Um, and it's easy to get caught up in the rat race, your own subjective created rat race, because
mm,
you have all these amazing tools at your fingertips now, and you can be a one person band. You can run an entire company as yourself with your
yeah.
Shopify and your Facebook ads and everything. But it's you have to really create that self-awareness to not constantly redline, because it's not sustainable, and it will come back. That's what I've
Mm.
learned, at least in my experience. So
Yes,
yeah,
I think
there's
that's very, very powerful what you just shared. I think very relatable to 2022. But how you mentioned, you were scheduling stories on Sunrise to show the hustle culture. How long ago was that for you when you were in this hustle mindset? And then what was kind of the shift to really put balance as the forefront of your life?
So for me, it really, I mean, I definitely had that in me for quite a long time. I think like I said, I quit my job, 11 years ago, and I
Mm.
became a freelance graphic designer. At the same time, I moved into a too expensive apartment in King's Cross in Sydney, which is also where I met my partner, though. So, but I didn't have any regular clients really. I suddenly had, $700-800 in overheads every week, and I have no idea how the hell I managed to do this for 3-4 years. But I feel like it instilled in me this fight or flight feeling of, just being able to pay the bills. And if I really think about it, like, that's where it started for me. That was me pushing myself, forcing myself to work way more than I really wanted, in my intuition, in my soul. And just I normalized that for myself, and then I kind of went through stages. The last real stage that pushed me as far as possible was honestly the 2020 thing. It's We had multiple retreats scheduled, in this house that we'd renovated. I extended our lease for 2 years in January 2020, and we basically reinvested everything to be ready for to make more, basically make the profit in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So we put everything back in, and that was, like I said, in January. And so we had to cancel retreats. We had all these people that had to put everything on the back burner. I mean, everybody has a story as to what we had to put on the back burner. But where I think a lot of people might have taken some time to just be like, okay, what's next? I guess we'll just, watch some Netflix and chill and watch some Tiger King or something. I did the exact opposite. I went, okay, I need to pivot so
Mm.
hard right now. And so I think I spent, the better part of 6 months working on, webinar funnels and online programs, and
Yeah.
just grinding it out. Then I built an app. Then I started building a second app. And I guess I just convinced myself that, like, this was necessary right now. I need to get out of this thing. I can't be complacent, because otherwise this is going to all turn into a shit show. And so I really just forced myself to just work like all day, 7 days a week, for probably a year. Um, and it definitely pushed me towards near burnout, probably
Mm.
burnout actually.
Yeah.
In the middle of last year, we also decided to take off from Bali and go and travel, because
Mm.
we'd been sitting in this house for a year and a half during and we're just like getting this thing called Bali brain. It's the heat and the humidity, and there wasn't much stimulation. So we decided to, like, okay, screw it, let's just get back out there and see what happens. So then we ended up Airbnb jumping for about a year between different countries while we were also doing the work. And then, honestly, it pushed me a little bit over the edge, middle of last year. And that's when I found an amazing book, actually. And it's probably my favorite book that I've ever read.
Mm.
And I've read quite a few
Yeah.
books. It's called Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zealand. And it's a book written by a Russian guy that is all about shifting through quantum realities, essentially saying that, like, we live in a holographic universe, and all possible timelines exist, and
Mm.
you can
Yeah.
navigate through them depending on your perspective, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. But it really made me aware of, whether you believe it or not doesn't really even matter, because it's more like a practice in self-awareness. It just made me realize that, much gathers more, so whatever you focus on expands. So
Mm.
if I'm constantly focusing on hustle and grinding and more and more and more,
Yeah.
then I just end up on lifelines where I'm perpetually in this mode. And if up ahead I want to have a more balanced life where I have more time for creativity and more time for friends, then that actually begins now. You have to start that
Yeah.
now. You have to integrate these habits now. And it didn't feel natural, you know. I'd start feeling guilty if I'm sitting there for too long, not doing something productive. But this unproductive time is actually really productive because it allows your brain to just function in a different way, take in new information, calm your nervous system. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, this book for me has been a huge shift, and it's there's been so many pieces of awareness in it. Just how to create
Yeah.
more balance in life, how to shift to different reality timelines that are more conducive with the version of reality that you want to actually live. And I mean, I'm a huge manifestation buff, so it was really refreshing to find a book with an entirely new approach. I love my Think and Grow Rich and Master Key System and all these books. I read them religiously, but this one has so many practical applications that also just relate to how you work and how you think and how you operate. Um, so yeah, it's been a journey, I go through periods like
Yeah.
this. I have my entire life, and when I do
Yeah.
my birth chart readings and my human design and everything, it tells me that's exactly what I'm meant to be doing. That's exactly what my
Yeah.
life was always meant to be. you know.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so yeah.
That's really, really powerful, all of that. And I really resonate. I think everyone will resonate that we go through ebbs and flows. It's like, think of the infinity symbol. We have ups and downs. And I think that really reflects as well the life of a business owner, especially in this day and age. And I also loved how you shared, taking time to essentially do nothing gives you time to speed up. In that nothing time, do you consider, is that when your meditation practice comes in? Or
Honestly,
do
I
you
don't
consider
actually
that
think it.
productive?
So I mean, for me, honestly, yeah, meditation is probably the most productive thing that I could ever do, in all
Yes,
honesty.
I agree.
And it's a paradox. There's so many paradoxes in this life. We don't see them, but they're all around us. Meditation is the biggest paradox. It's like, do absolutely nothing, do less than you have ever done before. Try not to even think anymore.
Mm,
And what do you get in return? Oh, you get the most valuable thing in life, peace of mind.
yeah,
Oh, whoa, I always think about, if you achieved all the materialistic success that you could ever hope for, you get the island and the jet and the Lamborghini and whatever else, but you have depression, most
yeah,
of you're not going to enjoy it. It's going to
yeah,
be, you would probably gladly trade with, the guy with the one bedroom apartment and the Fiat 500 who's figured out how to be grateful, present, and happy.
yeah,
So for me, I mean, the downtime is more related to hobbies. It's creating things without a purpose. Like I want to get into pottery soon, for instance. There's actually a pottery workshop a couple hundred meters from here, and I've been
mm,
watching it, being like, and then I actually met someone just yesterday and go, man, and he started telling me he's been going to this pottery workshop. I go, the universe keeps giving me signs. I need to get on that wheel and make some pots or something. I don't know. Just I I I feel like there is a lot of wisdom that comes to us naturally when you create space.
hmm,
There are epiphanies that
yes,
don't come as a direct result of reading something or having a
mm,
conversation.
yeah,
It comes later. It comes after you filled your mind with all these resources, and then your mind kind of weaves these new concepts together, and then it pushes it up to your conscious mind, and then you go, "Whoa! I just had a epiphany," but you can't create the space for that if you fill every waking moment with conscious force, like what should I do, what should I learn next, what else should I make next,
yeah,
or even more so, as soon as you feel slightly bored, pulling out the phone and consuming content the whole time. Don't
mm,
get me wrong, it's incredible, social media is incredible, but it's a knife, right? You can use it many different ways. It's a
mm,
hammer. Build a house or smack yourself in the head with it. It's up to you. It's in the usage, and I think many people, in those moments where you would feel bored, that boredom could
mm,
actually be the start of something new if you didn't just snuff it out immediately with a infinity feed of, dopamine snippets. So yeah, it's really basic when you think about it. It sounds so simple, but we've just programmed ourselves to have these beliefs in modern day that
Yeah.
like we should always be go go go.
Mm.
And yeah, it takes conscious awareness to try to just dial it back a little bit. And
Yeah.
for me, something else that I've been really doing a lot lately, which I can highly recommend to anyone in business, we actually want to create a specific retreat about business without burnout, where we want to teach some of these
Oh,
concepts.
okay.
But it's listening. Honestly, it sounds so basic, but it's listening to your heart, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't know this because this isn't yet in the public consciousness, but there is an institute in America that studies the heart. Have you ever heard of heart math before?
No, I haven't.
Right. It is fascinating, right? This is an
Okay.
institute that just studies the heart, and they've been doing this for like 20 years. And the things they've been finding out about the heart are mind blowing. Like, it is not just a muscle that pumps blood, it is
Okay.
so much more. Basically, when we form as a human, the first thing that forms is the heart. Everything else builds around it. When you look at the Egyptians, how they dealt with pharaohs when they did the funeral rites, they would put all this attention onto the heart. They would wrap it in all these things and do all these ceremonies and then place it into these, catacombs and everything. You know what they do with the brain? They would scoop it out and basically throw it away. And we live in a culture where we put the brain on a pedestal, right? There's this great quote that says, "The brain is the most important organ in the body. Sincerely, brain." Right? And but what they've been finding is that the heart actually has neurons in it. It has literal brain cells. So when they say think with your head, no, no, follow your heart, that is because there are literally two consciousnesses inside of you. There are two different
Oh,
ways to perceive reality. And we've all had those moments when you experience like a hunch, your intuition is saying something and you get a weird feeling, not to do something, or you feel something about some person. That isn't your mind. That's not your brain doing that. That is your heart. That is your intuition giving you a feeling, because the heart uses feelings, whereas the brain uses thoughts and images. And but the thing is, the brain is so obnoxious. It's so loud. It's just always overpowering everything. And when you come at problems and challenges just from the mind, you'll find that you'll start playing ping pong with yourself inside your own head. You'll be like, I'm really going to do this. And then 3 seconds later, you're like, do I really want to do this? And then you just kind of like, you'll burn so much energy. Just, it's like people when they leave a relationship, for instance, oh, maybe I should get back in the relationship. And then I'll go back again. No, I should leave. No, I'll go back again. And I've just been training myself a lot more to focus on how does it feel here? Because this knows so much more, and this is a feeling. So, if you're making a decision in business, perfect example, just yesterday, I went out last night and I caught up with a guy that I talked to on social media a few times over the last 2 years, and he's in town. And we're talking, and he said he's been trying to leave his current work for about 4 years. But every time he wants to make the transition, uh, basically the universe like gives him a test, and it keeps him where he is. So for instance, and little side note, I will say, if you ever want to make a big shift in your career, expect
yeah.
that the universe will test you. When I stopped doing freelance graphic design work from one day to another, I decided from tomorrow I'm no longer doing work for other people. I'm only working on my own projects. At the time, my average would be getting 2 new projects per week. 2 new projects would arrive in my email inbox. The day that I said I'm no longer taking on any new work, 5 projects arrived that day, which was completely out of the ordinary. It was literally the universe being like, "Are you sure? Are you committed?" And
Wow.
I rejected 3 of them. I took on 2. I gave the money back for one of those, and I only finished one of them. But so he's telling me, for instance, this friend of mine was saying that he's, at this point, he wants to move to Bali, he wants to open a bar, and he wants to just like change everything. He's a videographer and he does motion graphics, and he just wants to like use his creativity on his own business in
Yeah.
Bali. He's saved up money. And then he said he was about to do it, and then he's just been offered a 1-year-long project. A 1-year project. That would be a really amazing project. And then I asked him, I said, how do you feel when you think about this project here? And he says, I said, do you feel tight? Does it feel tight in your chest when you think about it? He goes, yeah, immediately. I go, then don't do it. Because if you feel excited in your chest and in your head, that's amazing. Okay, that is full flow. Follow that. If you feel nothing here and you're excited here, then it could be either way. But if you think about something and you immediately feel this tightening in your chest, that is literally your soul telling you you are going down the wrong route right now. And that's not to say that there aren't moments in life where you have to, just push through regardless of whether you have that counterintuitive feeling. Of course, we all have moments like that. But if it's an ongoing thing, or if it's related to, pursuing your dream career, or if it's a relationship or something, then like it's a huge piece of advice that I can say, just to listen to that quiet feeling. It's this quiet feeling underneath. And for me, meditating, calming down that ego is what allows me the space to be able to actually perceive that feeling so much more.
And before we keep going, here's a word from today's sponsor. Guys, as you know, I truly feel alignment is the new hustle we should all be striving for, and this is exactly what today's sponsor is all about. A new evolution of alignment is now available. Guys, this is the app I have been co-creating with two incredible people and very close friends of mine, Carlo and Caitlin. Our app is finally available to download. Guys, the whole entire purpose and meaning and messaging behind Soll is to make daily mindfulness and wellness simple and easy. We have modalities such as meditation, breathwork, movement, sound healing, and so much more. And the best thing is, it's all available so conveniently at the tap of your fingertips. No need to subscribe to countless apps and scroll through YouTube videos and this and that. You can try all of this in a 14-day free trial. This episode of Start Somewhere would not be possible if it wasn't for this amazing brand I have co-created with my business partners. Use code Isabelle when you download.
Jumped a little bit all over the place there, went to the Egyptians. This will happen.
No, I love it so much. I love talking about so many different things, but it all really compensates. It all reflects one another. So you shared so many powerful things just there. I loved all of that. I want to touch on how you mentioned, it's all in your head and your heart, which I totally agree with. And it's interesting about the brain cells in your heart as well. I had no idea, but we also hear, your intuition, your gut instinct. They say your gut is like your second brain as well. What are your thoughts on that? Is that similar to your heart, or is that different?
I mean, honestly, I know that they say the stomach produces serotonin, for instance, which is like a neurotransmitter, right? So I just think, I'm not an expert on it, but all I know is that there's some real stuff going on there. And I think, for me, one of the most powerful things, in my entire life ever was realizing that I'm not the voice inside my head, and that is a byproduct of meditating, because most people, we all have voices inside of our head. It's, like we've had this thing in culture where we say, oh my God, he hears voices. And you're like, yeah, that's everyone. That's every single person. Everybody's talking to themselves inside their own skull all day long. The difference is that most people believe every single one of those thoughts. Now, if you believe every single thought that you have, it's going to create a lot of issues for you. You not only will you be a relatively closed-minded and egocentric person, most likely, you're also going to be programmable, because you're going to you're gonna have stories that are going to be imprinted into your mind. And if you keep hearing the same story, the same belief over and over and over, it's going to start playing in there on its own. And then if you're just like, yeah, everything I think is true, whew, that's not very powerful for you, you know. Now, for me, when one of the most amazing side effects of a meditation practice is, that you're literally taking time every day to sit down and watch your mind from a third party perspective, and don't judge it, and don't criticize it, and don't label it, because then you're just being the thoughts again. But it's becoming the thinker, becoming the observer of the thinker. And for me, at least, the initial instant side effect was I realized that my head was filled with crap. Oh my God. I'm like, 12 years ago, 11 years ago, when I started meditating, I was like, whoa, is this what my consciousness is made up of? And it's just random stuff, It's like movie one-liners and random childhood memories, and then weird like questions about I'm like, whoa, and it made me realize that, like, that's everyone. Like, I'm a pretty normal person. So if I've got that, oh my God, that means everyone's running around with this absolute crazy show inside their heads of 5 trillion different random things. But developing the ability to hold space for your thoughts in a non-judgmental way is so powerful. Being able to recognize when some negative thought or belief enters your mind and it wants to trigger an emotion. It's like, well, Chris, you're always like this, you never couldn't do whatever. Being the awareness of that thought and being like, oh, look, my brain's telling me something I can't do. Ha! And then just letting it pass by. Like, that to me has just been the ultimate power. It allows me to stay calm in testing situations. Hey, you should blow up at this person. Tell them, they're like this and whatever. And then going like, no, I'm actually not going to let anything out. I'm just going to keep listening right now. But thanks for the suggestion. You know, that right there is for me the most powerful side effect of meditation. Besides having a calmer demeanor, a calm nervous system, the self-awareness that you get is, oh, it's everything. It's everything. And if I don't meditate for 3 days, 4 days straight, I lose that ability. I lose that watchtower over my mind, because it's like the river of thoughts becomes, a tidal wave of thoughts. But this is where meditation is something that you just do as a maintenance practice. If I don't mow the lawn's going to keep growing, and eventually I'll have a jungle. And it's the exact same thing with my thoughts. If I don't throw out the trash once a day, if I don't give my mind the space to calm itself down, all I can say is life isn't going to be slowing down. Like, if you don't slow down, life isn't going to ask you to slow down. It's only speeding up. And it's only becoming more important to self-regulate, to build in this watchtower, to have this maintenance procedure. Because, as we all saw in the last 2 years, we all bought into watching the news and getting the updates, for better or for worse. And it's just, if you throw that on top of everything else, all your worries, it's like people think that they don't have time. This one, if I can give any piece of advice, especially to people who think they don't have time, or people who are meditating and then they fall off the meditation wagon, right? The brain literally tries to think of everything at the same time. Like it's like the brain is so powerful that when you think of a person that you know in your life, you don't just think of like their exterior or their name, and then, do I want to think about something else about that person? Like, that's not how it works. You'll think of that person, and then your brain lights up like a Christmas tree, and it fires every neural pathway associated with that person, every memory, every conversation, everything you can remember, all at once. It's that powerful. And it's because it wants to be ready to think on its feet about everything. And that's your brain all day long. It's firing all these things. So when you think about, like, oh my God, I don't have time, it's like, no, you do have time. You're just thinking about everything you have to do at the same time. but you can never do all of the things at the same time. And now when you think about doing things, work, whatever it is, how would you describe being your most productive self? Would it probably be somebody who single tasks, who's fully engaged in this one moment? I'm fully here, now I'm fully here for this, now I'm fully here for this. But if your brain is all over the place and you're thinking about what I need to do next rather than while I'm doing this, you're ineffective. Multitasking is a myth. Multitasking is your brain just switching back and forth at lightning speed to give the illusion that you're thinking of both things at the same time. But it's switching, and it burns out your cognition. So being somebody who calms down their neural activity once a day as a meditator is the most powerful thing for business, because you're going to be more productive. You're going to stop doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing in the first place. Like, why am I even working on this? You'll start to have the awareness, like, this is a $5 an hour job. Why am I spending 4 hours a day doing this when this thing over here, creating that podcast, recording that sales video, writing that script, that is a $500, $1,000 an hour job, but it's harder. And I'm noticing now that I'm constantly procrastinating with low-level work, like the procrastination, awareness. It's just, I can talk all day about how meditation impacts like every facet of your life. It creates, you 2.0 once you start doing it. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I think that was so beautiful, and I can just, I can feel the passion with meditation. I resonate so much with it. I've always thought it's the one practice that, although it takes up time, it gives you more time in return. And I love how you shared as well. It's just been such a powerful tool with your whole entrepreneurship journey. It gives you so much creativity as well. I'm sure you can resonate being a graphic designer, coming from that field, and the ideas and the awareness. But I loved as well how you shared, getting these self-doubt thoughts, I want to say, coming into your mind. And, I'm at the very beginning of my entrepreneurship journey, and I experienced that. I'm becoming more and more aware that they are just negative like thoughts. But, I hear it come in thinking like, what are you doing, Isabelle? Why are you doing this? Like all this chatter. And I'm getting better and better at becoming aware with it and, not associating with it. But what is a tip to really help not let that take any control over us?
Honestly, it's learning to accept and love that part of yourself, because what it really is your ego is not your enemy. Okay, your ego is a part of you that allows you to interface with reality. Now, should you let your ego get too big? No, ideally not. How do you make your ego smaller? Well, practice humility. Practice accepting the fact that you don't know everything. Say I don't know to people. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to just be transparent that, like, I don't have all the answers. By God, I've got barely any answers at all. You ever see this thing called the Dunning-Kruger curve? It's quite an interesting cognitive bias. It's basically a graph where you have a curve that starts here and it goes all the way down and then comes back up. And what this is when you know nothing, your confidence is high. You'll be like, I know everything, but I'm kind of an idiot, but I know everything. It's like, what was it? Shakespeare had a great burn for this. He said, the empty vessel makes the loudest sound. But so this is a lot of people. This is people who know next to nothing, but they're the loudest at the same time. So then you learn things and your confidence starts to drop. And you're like, oh my God, I actually know very little. Oh my God, I know next to nothing. I know nothing. The more I learn, the less I know. But then eventually comes a time where you actually start to be like, hey, you know what? I know how to run a podcast. I know how to create a product. I know how to host a retreat. I know how to build an app. And then your confidence starts to go up again with your actual knowledge, right? So these feelings of self-doubt are just a side effect of you actually doing shit. Like you're actually out there. You're doing it, right? But here's the thing. You have an ego. We all have an ego. And the ego has evolved over millions of years to keep you safe. It wants you to be safe. So you'll have a job and it's paying enough to pay the bills and get you food. And you want to take that leap and start a new business and go out into the unknown and see what else is possible for you. Your ego is going to get in the way. It's going to be like, I don't know, should you really do this? What if you fail? Because it just wants you. It's like you already have food and shelter. What more do you want? Like we're safe right now. We're safe and healthy. That should be enough. Evolutionarily, that should be enough. But
Mm.
here's the thing: we're living in 2022, where you have teenage millionaires, and like you can have humongous impact from a phone. Like, wow, we have all
Yeah.
these incredible devices and this power at our fingertips, and a lot of us have an urge to want to do good things. We want to impact. We want to leave this place better than we found it. And you can feel once again in your intuition when you give things, it feels better than when you get. It's once again, it's
Yeah.
another paradox. Everyone's focused so much on getting, but
No.
when you really give something, that feels so much more satisfying. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's realizing that that part of you, it's not going to go away. It's going to be there. Like when I hear about people who give speeches and who are performers, right? I'm trying to remember. There was Can't remember the name, but either way, there was like a John Denver. John Denver was like a famous American musician, right? And like him, as that well as many others, they might be 20, 30 years into their career, and they go out on stages every week in front of thousands of people. The nervousness never goes away. Like a lot of them will literally
Yeah.
have to throw up beforehand because the nerves get to them that much. So what are those nerves? That anxiety that's evolution. That's you being scared of saying the wrong thing in front of the tribe. And then the tribe doesn't like what you said. And so the
Mm.
tribe says, get
Yeah.
out. And then suddenly you're by yourself in the wilderness, which basically means certain death. So this is why people
Mm.
are so scared of what other people are thinking, are
Okay.
scared of
Yeah.
saying the wrong thing. We get so nervous. Is it actually dangerous? Why is my fight or flight response activated right now? I'm just talking to a bunch of people on a stage. Like they're not going to throw a spear at me, but the body doesn't know that any different. We are running 2022 software, and we have 100,000-year-old hardware. Our body is designed to be huddled together with 100 people, keeping watch for the saber-toothed tiger that will come to
Mm.
steal my babies in the night. That's the physiological experience we have. So, you know,
Yeah.
this is why using tools like meditation is so bloody
Mm.
important. Like calm your
Mhm.
animal down. A text message shouldn't be a reason to get into fight or flight. Like there's no danger. You're not going to fight the phone. You're not going to freeze in front of the phone. you know um, and you're not going to run away from the phone either, ideally. So the phone will probably come with you when you start running. um, but yeah, so I think those feelings of self-doubt, you'd be surprised who has those,
Yeah.
because it's basically everyone, including that super confident person on the stage that has everything. When you really sit them down for a moment, the one thing I've learned over the years of having real heartfelt conversations with people about what the inside of their consciousness actually looks like, is the thing I've realized is that quite often the people who are most successful are the ones who are the most insecure.
Mm.
Like everybody is carrying around these voices that are second guessing, that are making you think that everybody is paying attention to what you're doing. Meanwhile, everybody else is paying attention to what they're doing, and they're worried about what you're thinking about them. So, like,
Yeah.
I realized a long time ago, I actually used to be a very shy person. I used to
Yeah.
be very socially anxious. I used to second guess everything that came out of my
Mm.
mouth. And I think it's because I learned English after I was 13. And, in an Australian high school, if you speak with a very thick German accent in year seven, expect everybody to parrot back what you've just said in a thicker German character, like characteristic German accent, right? And that's fine. That's just humanity, right? But I think when I look back, I think that made me second guess. That made me not be my authentic self and just say whatever's in my mind, because I'm always going to be ridiculed for the first 10 years as I was wearing down that accent. Um, and but when I started meditating, I realized that the world is actually divided into two groups. There are people who are not doing the work, who are
Mhm.
not spending any time observing their consciousness, doing any personal development, meditating, being being aware that they're not the voice inside their head, realizing they have a choice, that every thought is a suggestion, not a dead set truth. So there's those people. And I kind of have an idea of what most of those people's consciousness looks like on the inside. They're worried about themselves and what they look like and what they sound like way more than what you sound like. Now, do they judge you? Yes, they do. But it's only for a millisecond before they start judging themselves even worse. Okay. So these people, God bless them, they're everywhere. That's 99% of the planet. And they're just going about it. They're just dealing with their 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. That's the average. And they believe every single one of them. Whew, that's a lot. I understand why so many people are unhappy. I get it. I would be stressed too, right? And then you have this other portion of people who are like, whoa, maybe there's more to life than what my brain is projecting. Maybe there's an awareness beyond the voice inside my head, where when you stand in front of a monument, rather than being like, wow, how tall is it? How heavy is it? When was it built? But who built it? Instead, you just say nothing because your awareness goes beyond that. And you just go, you actually get what the painting is trying to say.
Yeah.
Not who was it who painted it and when did he paint it and what did he paint it on. Some people live just in this little layer of thoughts and labels and words. But there is an entire bandwidth, an entire spectrum outside of that. And when you dive into that and you become bigger than the voice inside your head, it makes you more humble because you don't take yourself so seriously suddenly. You notice when you judge people and you kind of pull yourself up. You go, why are you judging that person? Here, send them some gratitude instead. Say like, hey, I wish you all the riches in the world. Well, I don't know why I commented on their pants in my head or something, But the thing is, when you realize this, when you realize that the world is only divided into those two groups, it actually totally frees you from social anxiety, because you realize that the first group, you don't need to worry about what they're thinking, because they're not really thinking. They're just letting stuff rush through their mind all day long, all over the place. There is no coherent, concentrated, self-aware thought going on there. So would you put your self-worth and your self-esteem on the contents of a person like that's mind? That's you might as well build a house on quicksand. That'd be a very, very, you realize that's a very silly thing. I'm not going to put what people think of me on a pedestal as if it actually means anything. No more. The other group of people who you might have more respect for, you're like, oh, wow, these people have, they're doing their Vipassana retreats and they're meditating all day and they're very self-aware and they're reading lots and they're doing great things. Now, if this person judges you, and they will have that judgmental thought go through their mind. Oh, look at their pants. Look at what they're wearing. Oh, they've spilled some spaghetti on themselves. I don't know. Whatever it is, right? But they're going to catch themselves.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, oh, I'm judging someone. Oh, I should stop judging them. So you also don't need to worry about what they think of you. So that's everyone. Holy crap. I'm invisible in the best possible way. Everybody cares about themselves way more than they care about what I'm doing. And that's a really good thing. That's a really good thing. It's not that people don't love you or have no gratitude or appreciation or whatever. That's not what it is. But it's the judgment. It just doesn't matter anymore. It's not a factor. And when you can drop that, when you can just like give a little bit of love to your little voice in your head that's trying to tell you to stay small and stay safe because it wants you to stay safe, and you just go, that's okay, little one. That's all right. It's okay. Don't worry. It's like your inner child, It's like you'll be okay. But all the greatest things happen outside my comfort zone, and I didn't come here to play it safe. Like, we're all going to be dead soon. So make the most of it. Remember, you must die. Remember, you must die one day. Wake up and be like, holy crap, I've got another day. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with this day? Like, let's go big. Let's go big, but stay in balance. Let's not burn ourselves out, because this show might last a while and it might end today. I don't know, but I'm going to make the most out of it. And I can do that best with a calm mind, so that I'm really here for it. And that's why I meditate.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I've said this every time, but I just love how you explain all these things. I feel you've really summed up everything in that whole story just then. But I'm really interested to know, what are your core values after sharing so much about yourself? I'm intrigued.
My number one value is freedom.
Okay.
I've always, I don't know where it comes from. Maybe
Yeah.
it comes from, just being around people who try to oppress you a little bit, and try to tell you what to do. I've always had a big problem with authority, but I just think it's because the systems that our world has created are not built for me. They are not
Yeah.
built for me. Like,
Yeah.
every report card I ever got said the same thing. It said D,
Mm.
E, and F, and an A in art. And there was always an A in art every single bloody year for 12 years. So it's like, you're not enough. You're not good enough, Chris. You're not good enough, Chris. Oh, but you are
Yeah.
good enough at this one thing. Right. What's that? Creating things. Right. Okay. So, and how do you create things? Well, you need to go on your own path. You need to, like, take a leap, try
Mm.
something. You need to believe that something new is possible.
Yeah.
And so for me, freedom, when I do my birth chart and all that stuff, it says, like, there's no earth in my chart. I'm, I find it, for
Okay.
me, grounding is very important because I don't naturally do it.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
every time I check out a new country, I'm like, I could live here. I wonder what the real estate's like over here. We should look at an apartment. Like, I almost moved to Portugal, Cyprus, and Georgia in the last year. And now I'm in Bali, and I'm probably going to move back to Australia for a little while. I don't know. So, but for me, all I know is yeah, freedom. Freedom is freedom of mind, freedom of time,
Mm.
freedom of body. Like,
Yeah.
this is my core value. It's my number one. If I don't have that, I'm miserable. And
Yeah.
so my life is created in a way that supports that. It's so I don't have a calendar. I don't have regular meetings. I don't. I do everything spontaneously, and I love it. It is such a luxury, and I'm so grateful for my life that I get to do this because of these technologies that exist. You know, um, but was I ever going to be encouraged to do it the way I do it? No, because everything wants you to follow the status quo
Mm.
and stay safe. That's make sure you don't take too many chances. Don't make other people feel self-conscious about maybe that they haven't followed their dreams. But you just gotta do you,
Yeah.
and do it in your own way because yeah. So that's my number one. My number one's freedom. Um, and it's a beautiful thing because it means I can strike up a conversation with a stranger in the street and turn it into a 4-hour thing. I did
Mm.
that last night. I was meant to catch up with someone for 1 hour. I spent 6 hours with them, just talking until 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was great. I love it, and they had a fucking amazing time, And I'm like, okay, fantastic. And what was that, Sunday night? Okay, tomorrow's Monday. I forget what day of the week it is. I have forgotten. I've lost track of time for the last 10 years. Um, and it's made me feel like every day is a little bit like it's my last. Like,
Yeah.
I I I mean, this sounds extreme, but I am prepared for the end of my life already. I heard this saying once that said, "The secret to life is to die before you die." And I think what it means is to make peace with the fact that your life is physically limited. Now, I don't think you're spiritually limited. I think you live many, many lives. I think your soul will exists in many different planes of existence, and the physical domain is just one of them. Um, and I've also had some experiences related to that have given me a real inkling that, like, this is the model that this whole show is built on, and that's very comforting for me. That it's like, oh, I can relinquish my fear of death, which then makes me play small and play safe and worry and stuff. I can just let go of that and be like, yo, like, don't worry, it's all good. It's a ride, make the most out of it. And but I've been so blessed working for myself for 11 years and being a very good boss to myself that I've given myself the time and allowed myself to pursue the things that I'm actually passionate about. So if tomorrow or today was my last day, don't get me wrong. There's stuff I'd still like to do, and my God, what will Rochelle do? Like, there's all these questions, but overall, I'd have nothing but gratitude for the life I've lived so far. Like, I feel like I'm already in bonus time, and I'm 37, and I'm like, wow, you know, that's And that's because freedom is my number one value, and I've allowed myself to indulge that freedom for a decade straight now. So hooray for online entrepreneurship.
Drink to that. That's
Mm,
it's so refreshing, all the concepts you've shared, and then how you're fully embodying it, you're fully living your purpose, your passion. And I think everyone's going to be so inspired by hearing that, because you're energetically and emotionally and mentally embodying that. And I think that is something we should all strive for. And time is completely fluid. And I really adore how you said, you're living each day as it's your last one, per se. I think that's uh it should be more of a comforting mindset we live by. It should be something that, like you said, we strive for, and that we just really embrace the life we have, and not to get caught up in all the small little bullshit that goes on, basically.
yeah, exactly. Don't
Yeah.
always look for the silver lining.
Yeah.
That's one thing I took away from that book that I would mention before. It
Yes.
said, just play the game. What is the silver lining in every situation?
Okay.
And as you do that, you naturally start to always find the positive in everything, because there is
Yeah.
always a positive in everything. Every
Agreed.
crappy experience is
Mm.
also teaching you what you don't want and
Yeah.
what you might want instead.
Yeah.
And if you can just focus on that, it's this is another reason why I'm such an advocate for meditation. It's like the human mind is geared towards pessimism and negativity.
Right.
This is our natural status. This because it makes total sense when you go back
Yeah.
50,000 years in our development. A caveman 100,000 years ago had the exact same makeup and composition and ability to create an Instagram account and become an influencer and start an e-commerce brand. Exactly the same, exact same equipment. But the environment that body, this body evolved
Mm.
for,
Mm.
was basically like, have we got enough food? What are the other tribe members thinking about me? Oh my God, what is that orange and black stripes? Run. So it's like, if you have two primates and one is always looking out for danger, it's paranoid. Every time it hears a rustling in the trees, it's getting ready to run or freeze or bite into it or whatever. And then you compare that to your your modern day Ubud type. I'm just going to relax. I'm going to be grateful. Life is
Mm.
good.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on my heart. I'm being chill. Okay, which one of these is going to survive? That one's going to survive. Now, this one's going to have kids, and then the kids are going to learn the same behavior. And then this is going to repeat itself over and over and over for 1,000 generations until we're sitting here. So, our natural biochemical makeup is geared towards paranoia and pessimism. And that's just it. They say 80% of our thoughts are negative in nature, and 95% are repetitive. So we're just constantly on this thing. Now,
Okay.
then when you look at something like media,
Yeah.
media knows this. Media knows this. Oh,
Yeah.
they know this for a long time.
Yeah.
So what's the game that the media channels are playing? Well, they have to make money, like everyone. How do they make their money? They make money from ad breaks. Interesting. How do they get you to stay around for the ad break? Oh, it's easy. If they say, "Hey guys, life is good, everything's happy. Check it out. Here's a baby duck. Woo! Life is good." Well, then you're just going to turn off the television, and go outside. But if instead it tells you that, like, "Oh my God, here's a car crash. This terrible thing happened. Look at this embarrassing situation," whatever, then your nervous system is going to be aroused because you are paying attention now, because maybe this information will help you survive, because
Mm.
that's how you evolved. This is the rustling in the trees right there that they're saying, like, oh, something's happening, and then you will then literally stay in this state as they start showing you Hungry Jacks and McDonald's and bullshit. And then you'll be like, okay, that's so now here's the thing. Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. I get it, whatever. They're
Yeah.
just trying to make money. They're using it to their advantage. Yeah, that's cool. All right, whatever. Pretty shitty game you're playing. But the problem is that it programs us to just be more paranoid. Like,
Yeah.
statistically, and this blew me away. There's an amazing TED talk I highly recommend that everybody should watch. It's called The Surprising Decline in Violence by Steven Pinker. This guy studies like numbers. This guy just looks at hardcore numbers of, how many people are getting murdered every year, how many people are getting assaulted every year, how many car crashes are there, all these things. Like, don't worry about what happened in your neighborhood and then base your entire version of reality based on like your tiny little subjective experience. Look at the hard numbers and see where we're at. Now, here's the thing. Most people think the world's getting worse. Most people think like, oh my God, it's so dangerous. Everything's falling apart. It's the end of a civilization. Statistically, this is the safest time we've ever lived in, and it has been continually getting safer for 1,000 years that we have been keeping track. We've only been keeping track for 1,000 years. And it basically shows that we are continually moving more and more towards literally a bloody utopia. And yet at the same time, because of our access to media and the way a lot of the media is being used, it's programmed people to be more paranoid, which is wild. It's like, this is an incredible time to, like, you have health insurance and justice, and you can, talk to a random person in the street and see if they're a good person. I guarantee you 99.9% of the times they are. Like, I noticed how paranoid my mind was about 10 years ago. I remember there was a one day where I was just becoming more and more aware that, like, well, my brain is really paranoid. It's like telling me all kinds of stuff. And I was living in King's Cross, the nightlife district of Sydney. And, you walk through King's Cross in the day or at night, you're going to encounter all kinds of people, with all kinds of lifestyles, bikie gangs, all kinds of stuff. And I remember one day, and I did this multiple times in the course of like a couple of weeks, just to really drill in the point. I was walking down King's Cross Strip, and outside this strip club, there was this big dude, like Man Mountain, is just standing in front of this club, covered in tattoos, got like maybe surely, I don't know, Hell's Angel or something. And I remember as I walked past, my brain, one of the many thoughts that's just buzzing around my brain, one of them was like, oh, careful, Chris, that guy looks kind of dangerous, something like that. It looks like the bad guy out of the movie. And as I'm walking past, I forced myself to stop, and I turned back and I went up to him. I said, excuse me, mate, have you got the time? And the guy's like, oh yeah, mate, it's 3:30. Like, his voice was like 2 octaves higher than mine. He was totally courteous, super friendly. And I'm like, thanks. I'm like, oh yeah, there's that dangerous guy, that my brain is making me be hyper vigilant about. I did that same thing 4 or 5 times, and it's every single time it's the exact same thing. Just courteous, friendly humans, happy to help. But we are so much more paranoid than we like to give ourselves credit. We're so delusional sometimes. You ask people like, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking? They go, nothing. I'm like, oh, dude, you have so many thoughts going on that you're just not even aware you're having right now. Like, you're running on a program. Look at the program. Start to become aware of your program. Is your program serving you? Could there be a better program in there? Could you be backing yourself a little more? Could you say, I can do it? People who do great things are no different than me. They're the same. I've met so many people who are very successful, who do great things, who've amassed huge fortunes. And the one thing that I've noticed in all of them is that they're basically just normal people. They're just normal people. And a lot of them are really friendly. They're really friendly and self-aware. And I'm like, sweet. All right. Well, that's faith in humanity restored.
I agree. And it's, taking those small steps as well, like those little awareness pieces, those little comforting words to ourselves that, like you said as well a while ago, like, it's just so simple. And those steps repeated consistently over time lead to such grand results.
Yes, repetition. Repetition is the key.
Yes, you mentioned that as well. Yeah.
Like whatever program you have in your brain, like, pick a topic and then ask yourself, what's my core belief? Like, when you think of money, how do you feel? Oh, it's kind of bad. Oh, it's stressful. It's this. What's like money's none of those things.
Yeah.
Money's just a side effect. It's a physical form and digital form of energy. That's all it is. You can make things happen with it. You can buy things. You can keep it there. You can do nothing with it, whatever. But ask yourself, what is your belief? What are your beliefs? And then if you when you create a more powerful belief, you ask, okay, wouldn't it be so much better if I looked at it as like, money comes to me as a side effect of great things that I do,
Mm.
like something like that. You just go, money is always coming in and out of my life in a stress-free kind of way. Whatever it is, you're going to have to repeat that over and over and over. Like, it's going to take repetition. You have to, because your subconscious is programmed with the other story. It is etched into your subconscious, and your brain is always going to take the path of least resistance. So it'll be like, oh yeah, money's kind of the root of all evil or something. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, well, I'm going to etch this new way, but you're going to have to redo this a bunch of times. It's actually why in our manifestation app, Manifesty, I built a affirmation scheduler maker. I don't even know how to describe it best, but it's basically just a small dashboard where you write a message and then you choose the days and the times, and then it's a push notification. So whenever I check my phone, like, it'll say, hey, I'm a money magnet. So like 11:11 every morning, it says, hey, Chris, you're doing a great job. Think of everything as easy and everything will become easy. And I'm like, sweet. It's like we got all these notifications all day long that are just trying to steal our attention, or it's like, hey, check your Instagram, do whatever. Why aren't we able to actually create custom notifications?
Yes.
And to be honest, it wasn't that hard to build at all. It's just, for some reason, I haven't seen it anywhere else on the App Store.
Mm.
But so I highly recommend using that. Just set yourself a bunch of affirmations to then continually program yourself. I went
Yes.
all the way to recording. I actually recorded an audio, and then I went through the very painstaking process of figuring out how to make it a ringtone on my phone. And so my phone wakes me in the morning with my own voice,
Oh my
talking
gosh.
to me with like affirmations. And
Yeah.
it's so good. It's like, good morning, Chris. It's time to
That's
get up
beautiful.
and make it happen. Yeah, and it's amazing because it's every day, and it's
Yeah.
always and it's how I start my day, which
Yeah.
is how you start it is yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I
It's
agree. I think
important.
affirmations are just like they just continue to blow my mind at how powerful they are. I actually have like just the alarms going off on my phone, like with no noise though, because the noise annoys me, but always alarms popping up every hour in the hour, just little messages, like exactly what you just shared. And, I think of something that I want to change in my life. I put an affirmation in within 2 or 3 weeks. I already see the shift coming because I'm
Yes,
constantly affirming. I'm like brainwashing myself with all the good stuff.
absolutely. I mean, I have literally affirmations all over my arms. Permanently,
Yeah.
because and they're I put messages on in my peripheral vision, because
Yes.
they're all messages which I know I will never ever want to forget. So,
Yeah.
like, I have a meditation reminder right there. I have two that say attention and intention, because
Yeah.
it's a manifestation reminder. It's, pay attention, become present. Now
Mm,
fill the present with your intention.
intention. I
Where are
like
you
that.
going? What's the
Yeah.
next link in the chain? Where are you
Yes.
going next? Okay, now simulate the feelings and thoughts and demeanor of having achieved that, and the satisfaction of it in the now. And so every time I
Yes.
look at my hands, I'm constantly reminded to, like, not just let my mind do whatever it's doing, but like use
Yeah.
this powerful organ, to create the pictures and the feelings, and then the universe starts to shift around you, just to help you, puts
Yeah.
the wind in your sail. But first you got to put the sail up, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, affirmations, very powerful. I actually heard recently that J Lo, who's very youthful, right? She seems so youthful. Even, I think she's
Yeah.
like over 50 now, and she still looks so good. She has an affirmation she's been saying in her head millions of times, and it was something along the lines of like, I'm youthful and healthy at any age. She just keeps it in her head at all times, and
Wow.
then that's what she's creating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It just, and the more you can believe that stuff, it's just everything's a reflection. The people around you are just going to start to pick up on that energy.
absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Your inner world creates your outer world.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. I reckon we lead on that point. That was so beautiful. You shared so many insights. I took a lot of notes as well, just personally as well. But I would love to end up, Chris, by asking you, what is something you've recently started in your life?
Something I recently started is actually a new routine habit that I'm actually about to do after this call,
Okay.
which is Rochelle and I have created an accountability system where we do something called Manifesty Mornings. Manifesty Mornings is us choosing one task each to help advance and develop our app, and we both say to each other what it is. We then put it into our monday.com task management system, and then we spend the first 90 minutes of the day, the first powerful 90 minutes
Yeah.
is fully dedicated to growing and advancing our app now. And honestly, it's really good because for us, consistency has always been a challenge because we're such creative thinkers. We're always going wherever, and I've really loved this new system that we've created because it's enjoyable. You know, we basically high five each other every morning at the end of 90 minutes, and we already feel like we've done something really powerful for our business that really advances, you know, this amazing app that we just want so many people to download and use. And so yeah, that's just kind of like a little custom accountability task system with a mission. And it's cool because I love monday.com because you can make all these little like labels. So I made like
Yes.
labels for all the different, you know, recording, writing,
Yeah.
designing, what is it? And it's yeah, it's very satisfying to tick that off first thing in the morning and to have a really clear intention and to put that first burst of creativity and energy into where it belongs the most, at least. So yeah, that's something I've created
Yeah,
recently.
I like that. I think, and have creating that momentum first thing in the morning then just builds you on for the rest of the day, like having
Yes,
ticked off something so early.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
highly recommend, by the way, if anyone is doing larger projects, like 90 minutes is such a powerful number,
Okay.
because the brain loves this chunk of time. This
Okay.
is 90 minutes is a single sleep cycle, and 90 minutes is also how long movies are for a
I've seen
reason. Yeah, they always
that.
make movies 90 minutes because
Okay.
that's how long you can really pay attention before you need to take some downtime and take a break.
Right.
And you can get a lot done in 90 minutes. But
Mm.
yeah, so I highly recommend like thinking of that time frame. It's
Yeah, that's good to know. I used to think, just do like a 60-minute sprint on something, but I find by the time you settle in, you really get into the work and then, the hour's up and like you don't feel as
yeah,
productive. So
no,
that's good
no,
to know, 90 minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So one last little thing at the end there.
You are full of so many golden nuggets. I just know this podcast is just going to really provide so much value for everybody. And Chris, I really appreciate you taking the time today to share
My
all of
pleasure.
that with me. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. I'm so looking forward to officially meeting yourself and
Yes,
Rochelle on the Mindspace retreat in Cyprus in September. Oh my gosh, I'm so
yes,
excited.
many more chats to be had.
Oh, it's going to be beautiful.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Well,
much for having me on.
thank you so much, Chris.